There's something more spiritual, and that is the celestial events that may indicate what's happening on this earth. And we have with us a gentleman who I've long admired, Pastor John Hagee. Pastor Hagee, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you, sir. It's my privilege to be with you today.
Pastor Hagee, what actually is what is a blood moon to begin? Because you say 4 blood moons or tetrads. What does that mean?
A blood moon is when the earth is between the sun and the moon, and the rays of the sun shine through the atmosphere of the earth directly onto the moon and cause it to have a reddish glow. It means that the sun, the earth, and the moon have to be in a perfect alignment for that to happen. That produces a blood moon.
But Pastor Hagee, that's very interesting unto itself. It's sort of a mini eclipse in a way, right?
It is indeed.
Okay. So only I read your book, a best-selling book called 4 Blood Moons, and you're going to be doing you have a DVD on this, a theatrical one-night event on March 23rd. I want to know more about it, meaning you say that only 3 times in the past 500 years have 4 blood moons occurred back-to-back in our major Jewish holy days. When is in 1493, 1948, 1967, when is the next one, Pastor?
Well, they are in process right now. The 4th series of 4 blood moons began in April of 2014, which was Passover, and then the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, in September 2014. The next blood moon coming up will be April the 4th of this year, and the final blood moon will be September the 28th of this year. The amazing, miraculous thing about these blood moons is that on an exact day, the sun, the earth, and the moon will get into a perfect alignment to produce a blood moon, but on the exact day of Passover and Feast of Tabernacles in 2014 and 15 to the day and the hour.
Now, for those people who are listening who are skeptical, we should say that the blood moon prophecy is only a theory taught by yourself and a few others, and you state that an ongoing tetrad of blood moons, which began with the April 14 lunar eclipse, is a sign of the end times. Is that correct?
Well, actually the end times began after the day of Pentecost, but when we're talking about the last days, that's right now. And we have in the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter, where I got the exact title for the book. It said, I will show wonders in the heavens. The sun shall be turned to darkness, meaning a solar eclipse, and that's going to happen this year. And the moon will be turned to blood before the coming of the day of the Lord. That's a very graphic sentence that's undeniable. The fact of the signals in the heavens began in Genesis 1:14. The Bible says, and let there be lights in the heavens to divide day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons. The word sign in Hebrew is oath, which means signal. So God is saying in Joel 2:30, Genesis 1:14, Psalms 19, David writes, the heavens declare the glory of God. Day unto day they utter speech and show knowledge. There's a communication skill demonstrated in that one sentence that's undeniable. The specific signs in history that we have already had that people are more familiar with would be the 3 wise men following the star in the east to discover the Christ child. Matthew, the 2nd chapter, says, we have seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him. They had followed that star from 500 to 700 miles from Babylon.
You're saying that Jesus is going to come back to earth this time? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm not at all. When this series of blood moons is over, it is a signal from heaven that something is getting ready to change. In each of the previous blood moons, let's go back to 1493, 1492 and 3. When the first tetrad came, the Jews were expelled from Spain. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella in the Spanish Inquisition kicked the Jewish people out of Spain. And they, the Jewish people, gave to a Jewish sailor by the name of Christopher Columbus the maps and the money to find a new homeland for them, which became America.
Wait, hold on. Let me go. Who gave the money to Columbus?
The Jewish people in Spain who were being expelled from Spain. They were given 14 days by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella to leave the nation of Spain, leave your possessions. Many of them gave their children to Christian families because many of them left in boats that were not seaworthy, lost their lives at sea, and it was a time following the Spanish Inquisition where Jewish people were put on the torture rack when they were burned at the stake by the church, and finally Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand expelled them from Spain altogether. And then in 1948, when the second tetrad is when Israel became a state, Ben-Gurion on May the 15th, 1948, read the Declaration, and 11 minutes later, President Truman recognized Israel as a state and that America would stand behind them. And then in 1967, the third tetrad appeared, and Jerusalem was unified with the state of Israel after almost 2,000 years. And now we're going through the fourth tetrad of 2014 and 15. Two are past, two are yet to come. And when we get in September the 28th of this year is the last one, when the series is over, and each of these other three illustrations in history, then something happened that changed the course of history. You look.
Let me bring it to a. I'm sorry, Pastor. You know, this audience may not be following us. I'm following you very well because I've read Ezekiel. I've read about Gog and Magog. I think you and I were on this show together years ago and talked about Persia with regard to Gog and Magog. Can you make it political for the listeners? Do you have any inkling or any knowledge of the celestial events with regard to A, Netanyahu's visit, B, what may be coming nuclear-wise? What's going to happen? Do you know?
Well, that we don't know. I do know that I was in the gallery when Prime Minister Netanyahu was speaking. I was sitting beside Senator Lieberman and some other former senators, and we were listening to what I consider one of the most historic speeches in the history of America.
Absolutely. I was stirred down to the fiber of my being, and I was embarrassed by our president saying he didn't even go there. But nevertheless, I don't want to drag you into that on the political level because you're a man of the church rather than of politics. Yes, Netanyahu's speech warned us about what's coming. Do you think there's going to be an exchange between Israel and Iran? Are they going to take Iran's nukes out?
Well, that is something that I can't say because that's the future. But we, the world, is experiencing the fact that Israel and Iran are on a collision course. And Prime Minister Netanyahu says that the days of the Jews just standing by and watching themselves get slaughtered are over forever. He made that statement in that speech.
Oh, yes.
And
it was very stirring. I don't know why so many Jewish liberals like Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein were so offended by his speech. Do you?
Well, no, I don't, except that their agenda and his agenda are different. He is a prime minister. He is pleading with the world for the safety of the Jewish people in Israel, and many people here do not consider Iran an existential threat to Israel or to us, when Iran's constitution calls for both the destruction of Israel and the United States. They call us the great Satan, and Israel is the little Satan. But
let me intervene here. Pastor Hagee, by the way, who you're listening to on the Savage Nation, is a very significant figure in a group called Christians United for Israel, which he himself founded in 2006. It is now the largest pro-Israel organization in America with some 1.3 million members. And he holds nights where he honors Israel across the nation and at San Antonio's Cornerstone Church, where he serves as senior pastor. His first event in 1981 drew bomb threats and vandalism from anti-Semites. Pastor Hagee, are you currently threatened for your support of Israel?
On a regular basis. Let me help you catch up to speed on those numbers. We now have 2.1 million families who are in Christians United for Israel who have signed an actual document in their pledge to stand up and speak up for Israel. 2.1 million.
Wow. And yet you weren't invited to meet with the president on Netanyahu's historic night. The Netanyahu invited you, I guess.
Well, there were two receptions. One was by the Speaker of the House, Mr. Boehner. He invited my wife and I to attend his reception that happened prior to the speech. And then following the speech, we were invited by the Prime Minister to meet with him and to with other people who were there. I have known the Prime Minister since 1985, and we are dear friends. He has been in my home, and I've had the opportunity to be with him many, many times.
Why? You know, this is Pastor Hagee, you know, this is what disturbs me, Michael Savage, the most. Why is it that it's fundamentalist Christians such as yourself who are the strongest supporters of Israel, while liberal Jewish people seem to attack Israel? What in the world is that about?
Well, the reason, what's that about, is whether or not you believe the Bible. The connection between Christians in the United States and the Jewish people of Israel is the Bible. Supporting Israel is not a political issue, it's a Bible issue. The Bible begins in Genesis 12:3 with God speaking to Abraham saying, I will bless those who bless you, speaking of the Jewish people, and I will curse those who curse you. I have 3 university-earned degrees, and I can reduce world history in nations to one sentence. The nations from the day of civilization's birth that blessed Israel have been blessed of God, and the nations that cursed Israel have become have wound up in the boneyard of human history.
But you know, Pastor Hagee, I agree with you, and yet I see that it's Jewish liberal civil rights activists who are behind the Boycott Israel campaign. Where do they fit into all of this? Do they not understand that they're calling for the destruction of the Jewish state?
Well, they have an ideology that sees the current situation between Israel and Iran in a totally different light. And that is the reason that as we speak right now, the election in Iran is up for grabs because there is a great division about how much of a threat the nuclear Iran situation happens to be. I believe the Prime Minister is absolutely right that if we allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, it is to the detriment of Israel and the United States.
We're speaking with Pastor John Hagee about the 4 blood moons, and he's certainly not making any predictions, but he's sensing that there's something coming as a result of all of it. We all sense it, by the way. And I want to talk about the end times, what it really means from a Christian perspective. And what about God saying, Son of man, set thy face toward Gog of the land of Magog? What does that all mean? I'll be right back to discuss these issues with Pastor John Hagee on the Savage Nation. Tens of millions of Christians support Israel, and what's shocking is how many Jewish liberals fight against Israel on a daily basis. But I'm not surprised by the disease of liberalism. I've been trying to diagnose it and treat it my entire adult life. If you read the Bible, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, you can see a prophecy. It says, in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. And he said, in that day that the nations come against Israel, there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field are all creeping things that creep upon the ground, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. And the mountain shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Pastor Hagee, doesn't that indicate that Israel will suffer?
What that indicates is at some point in the future, there will be a coalition of armies that come against Israel. The moment they put their foot on the covenant soil of Israel, God Almighty is going to send an earthquake and other calamities in which 5 out of 6 of those invading armies are destroyed. People who present the end times as the detriment to Israel have it backwards. Whenever the nations that have been tormenting Israel for centuries all get together, God is going to have a day of reckoning, and he's going to wipe them off the map. Israel is going to prevail.
Pastor Hagee, tell my audience in the minute that remains when your movie is being released and what it's about.
We have a movie coming out on March the 23rd, and it's appearing in 700 theaters across America. Those who would like to go can go online to fourbloodmoonsmovie.com and find out where the theater is closest to you that's showing this movie. This movie shows the trial and the triumph of the Jewish people from the Spanish Inquisition through the 48 War.
And it's called fourbloodmoons.com is the website?
Yes, fourbloodmoonsmovie.com.
Pastor Hagee, let me say God bless you and thank you very much for being a friend of the Jewish people. It's very rare in this world. Thank you very much and good luck.